Hi everyone and welcome back to Sawyer Studios. I'm doing a video, a sort of a continuation. I posted a video this past week on why I don't think, or why I think that LEGO Star Wars remakes are going to slowly and slowly become more and more obsolete. How we're going to slowly and slowly see less and less remakes every single year. It's not going to be the same as it once was, just with all the new Star Wars content coming out. You can check out that video. I go into way more depth about that stuff. But this video, I sort of wanted to make a list of just sets that I think that we will never get a remake of. And never is a strong word, I know. So never in this case is taken into consideration. Some of them are taken into consideration that, like, okay, Disney is probably never going to make like another show that incorporates this. I mean, at least from what we've seen from Disney, they're either reusing ships in new ways. For example, in the in Book of Boba Fett Season 1, we had the Naboo Starfighter. I wouldn't consider that a remake for the N1 Starfighter though, because it is an old Starfighter that has been refurbished to be the Mandalorian Starfighter, so I wouldn't count that as a remake. This is also going into consideration of just, as I said, that Disney is not going to make a show that's the main character is like going to just have that set. And as I said, N1 Starfighter I don't think counts. Captain Rex's ATTE Walker, I wouldn't count that as an ATTE remake. However, I mean, I do think LEGO's going to keep making ATTE Walkers until day's end. That just kind of is like the main Republic land vehicle. But this is a list of all the sets that I feel like LEGO is not going to remake. And I didn't want to make a pointless set. Like, there are sets that obviously I think we can all agree on that I don't see LEGO making a remake of this, like, ever. Like the First Order AT-ST, like, that's a no-brainer. So I didn't put those types of sets on this list because it's like, okay, that kind of just like is common sense that LEGO's never going to make that set again. These are sets more so that I feel like some people would want a remake, but I don't think that LEGO's ever going to do it. And once again, as I said, never is a very strong word, but I'm going to hold to a lot of this list. So the first set I want to talk about is the Malevolence. I think that it would be great if we all got a remake of this set. And I know that we only saw the Malevolence in 3 episodes of the Clone Wars, but I mean, it's one of those sets where it's like, we really should get a remake because we don't have like any other Separatist cruisers or ships. And instead of LEGO making like a Looser Hulk or a Munificent or a Providence class or whatnot, I could see them remaking the Malevolence as like their #1 option. However, I don't even think that is an option in the future, unfortunately. I feel like I would really like a bigger Malevolent ship, you know, get like a $300 one. I think that would be cool. It's just, I don't think LEGO will ever remake it because I don't think they have an excuse to. The next set, the TIE Defender. We only had one of these. And that was when it was technically an expanded universe. And this is what boggles my mind. The TIE Defender was pretty prevalent in the later seasons of Rebels. Like, that was like the whole Admiral Thrawn sort of like ideology, and that was his difference between Tarkin. Tarkin's ideology was bigger is better, essentially, like, you know, just keep on making bigger and bigger weapons. Like, no, let's make really efficient smaller vehicles, which is why he invested in the TIE Defender program and really funded that. And so they had definitely different doctrines to follow. But the TIE Defender, it was a big part of Rebels, and we never got like a Rebels TIE Defender. And if the TIE Defender was that prominent in Rebels and LEGO didn't give us a TIE Defender, then I have a hard time believe that even if the TIE Defender shows up in a later show or movie, I don't think LEGO's going to make it anyway. So I think that's the only TIE Defender we're going to get. Speaking of the TIEs, TIE Bomber, we've only received one TIE Bomber. Now I know what you're probably thinking, like, Nathan, TIE Bomber like was part of the poll, was part of the it was part of one of the options of the UCS sets. You have the gunship, you have the Nebula B frigate, you have the TIE Bomber. I think we can all agree that the TIE Bomber did the absolute worst out of all 3 of them. And so, although LEGO was most likely open to the idea of, hey, we can make a TIE Bomber, I think after that poll came back with all the votes going to the UCS gunship and then probably second place Nebulon B frigate, they're probably like, okay, LEGO fans don't actually want a TIE bomber. We're probably not going to waste our time releasing it if LEGO fans aren't going to enjoy it. So there you go. It's just like, also I remember an interview with a the LEGO engineer, and this was years ago, and LEGO has improved since then. But they were saying how one of the reasons why they haven't made a TIE bomber since the very first one that they ever did, and we're not including the little planet set with that little TIE bomber, like micro fighter-esque build. The reason why is because apparently they have a hard time trying to actually make a functioning TIE bomber that actually looks good, that would be at a price that people would pay, which was an interesting excuse, not an explanation. That was an interesting explanation. I didn't really follow, but whatnot. The next one on the list, the Razor Crest. I know there's a rumored UCS Razor Crest coming out. I still can't believe it. Even if the UCS Razor Crest does come out, I don't think LEGO will ever make that set again. Because A, ship's blown up. Don't think we're ever going to see it in another Star Wars thing ever. There would be no reason for LEGO to make another Razor Crest. And although I'm sure there are going to be people 10 years from now who watch The Mandalorian and are like, oh, I really wish I had the Razor Crest. It's like, sorry, people 10 years from now who will be LEGO fans watching this video, maybe. LEGO's not going to come out with another Razor Crest. The Bad Batch shuttle. And while we're on this topic, the Justifier. Once again, these are sets that are specific to their show. And the Bad Batch isn't going to go on forever and ever. If Rebels only went for 4 seasons, I can't imagine the Bad Batch going for more than 4 seasons. I honestly think the Bad Batch probably will only go for, at max, 3. I don't see... Like, there is hype behind it, but I don't get that same reaction for the Bad Batch from the Star Wars community that we did for Kenobi or Clone Wars Season 7 or stuff like that. Like, I feel like the Bad Batch is something that it might die out sooner than we all expect. And so by the time we might want a remake of the Bad Batch shuttle, I don't think we're ever going to get it. Same with the Justifier. The one thing about the Justifier, it is very expensive, but I think LEGO also understands that, like, they're not planning on making another Justifier ever again. So if you want to get the Justifier, if you want to get Cad Bane, I really think that this might be the only time that you're going to be able to get Cad Bane's ship, the Justifier, and this is the only time you're going to be able to get that Cad Bane. I don't see him coming out in another set, and I also don't see Toto coming out in another set, just because the Clone Wars era is also sort of leaving us. So that's my take on that. The First Order Destroyer, I also think this is a little common sense, but I also wanted to just put it in there, so just to encompass all the sequel trilogy as a whole. I don't see LEGO remaking any sequel trilogy set, except for maybe a Resistance X-Wing, and that's all, just because the X-Wing is such a popular vehicle, and like, yeah, just because the X-Wing is like one of the main vehicles of Star Wars, it's like the main vehicle of the main ship, other than the Millennium Falcon, of A New Hope, and that was the first Star Wars movie. And I just remember like everyone like, oh my gosh, the X-Wing is so cool, and Luke Skywalker, that's his ship. So it has something, it has some more meaning to the Star Wars universe as a whole. However, I even think that the Resistance X-Wing is even very low on the possibility of remakes. But as far as any other sequel trilogy set, I'd say big doubt. No way we're going to get a remake of that. Especially the sequels didn't do as well, and LEGO still struggles to make prequel sets sometimes. So it's like, doubt it. The Republic Venator, I really thought about this for a long time, and I don't think LEGO's going to make a remake. And I mean, once again, this is saying that it also doesn't really show up again. But, I mean, to be fair, we got a Venator in Clone Wars Season 7. And we got some Venators in the Bad Batch. And I feel like instead of Cad Bane's Justifier, it would have been way more justified by LEGO to make a $170 Venator, Republic Star Destroyer. I think that would sell better than Cad Bane's Justifier. I don't know how well Cad Bane's Justifier is going to sell, but I can probably guarantee that the Venator would have sold better. The fact that Lego hasn't made a Venator, hasn't remade the Venator, is sort of telling me that they don't that's not on their radar. And even if the Venator does make an appearance later, I doubt that they're gonna make a Venator set again either, because like they're gonna probably like focus on other stuff in those TV shows that have not been made. And it's like we never even got a Revenge of the Sith Venator. Like, you wouldn't even have to do a remake of a Clone Wars one. Just do a Revenge of the Sith. But Lego hasn't even done that. And so I've given up on the Venator. At this point, I feel like as each year goes by, the chances of Lego making another Venator just gets slimmer and slimmer. So I'm just calling it. I just don't think they're going to do a remake. Jango Fett Slave 1. Don't think they're going to do this either. I actually think there's a little, like, I don't know, I feel like there might be some other stuff to do with that. One, whenever you want a Jango Fett minifig, it always comes with like an Obi-Wan Kenobi's Jedi Starfighter Episode 2. I mean, we got Jango Fett, well, okay, to be fair, we got Jango Fett in a, I think it was a Corporate Alliance tank set. I think that was the set that he came in. Yes, it was. And then we got Jango Fett in the Obi-Wan Kenobi's Jedi Starfighter with hyperspace ring. So, like, you know, we get him in many sets. So we don't need a Jango Fett Slave 1 to get a Jango Fett or Young Boba Fett minifig. Also, the whole, like, it would be Jango Fett's Starship, and the whole thing with, like, it being called Slave 1, I don't know, I feel like Lego might just not be making that many more Slave 1s or Boba Fett Starships in general. Because of that. I mean, we saw it in the Book of Boba Fett, but we technically got a Mandalorian downscaled one, and I could see Lego making a Book of Boba Fett special Slave 1 ship, sure. But I feel like Lego's sort of done themselves out with Slave 1s. I mean, we have a UCS ship. We have many great playable ones. Like, we got the, not the 20th anniversary. Oh, yeah, the 20th anniversary of Lego Star Wars. We got a really good one. That was great. So, like, it's not like we have a shortage of really good ones, and Lego really doesn't have a need to remake one anytime soon. Wookiee Katamaran, or the Wookiee attack set and all that stuff. I don't know. I mean, that's more obscure, but it's like, you know, the Battle of Kashyyyk, you know, like the Wookiees, all that stuff in Revenge of the Sith. That was a really cool battle in Star Wars, and we didn't really get a lot. We got AT-AT walkers, we get droid gunships, we get some clone turbo tanks, but we only got one all the way back 2005. I want to say, you know, those Wookiee attacks, those two sets, and it was like, I'd really like another one of those. I would really like a remake of that, just to get some good Wookiees. And the only thing remotely close we've gotten since then is the Wookiee gunship from Rebels, and that wasn't even that. I mean, the Wookiee minifigs in there I thought looked too cartoonish. So I mean, they were cartoons, but we just need a good Episode 3 Wookiee set, and I just don't see Lego making that probably, like, ever again. So sad. Honestly, I want to talk about is the Imperial Assault Carrier, or the Ghost, like sets from Rebels. I don't think Lego's ever gonna make another Ghost. If you want the Ghost, if you like the Ghost, you should try to get it now. That's all I'm gonna say. Imperial Assault Carrier. I mean, we saw it make an appearance in The Mandalorian Season 2. Lego didn't make one. And it's so, like, it's hard. Because with these, when Star Wars or Disney when they do bring back older ships or vehicles, it's usually just for a cameo of one episode, you know? It's not like, oh, this is such like a staple vehicle or ship to the entire show. It's like, oh, here's like, we'll make the Star Wars fans happy, we'll bring back a cameo of this set, like, once. And I don't think that's enough to justify Lego of, like, oh, it appeared in one episode of this new show. Yeah, we'll make an entire set based off of it. Like, no, even, like, the Imperial Juggernaut has shown up so many times. It showed up in Rogue One, showed up in, I'm pretty sure the Mandalorian. I don't know if you'd call that. I don't know if you'd count that vehicle as Imperial Juggernaut. I think I would. I mean, it was a type. of Juggernaut. It wasn't like the full one, but it was definitely a type of Imperial Juggernaut in The Mandalorian. Then we saw it in Bad Batch Season 1 on Ryloth, which was really cool. But like once again, we've gotten that 3 times, 3 separate occasions. Lego hasn't made one of those, and so it's you have to take into consideration what is on Lego's mind. You know, as far as remakes go, they're thinking of original trilogy sets because they always sell well, and they're thinking of prequel sets. And that's really it as far as remakes. It's really just those 3. And like I wouldn't even count The Mandalorian Starfighter as necessarily a remake because it showed up in Star Wars The Clone Wars. Like I would consider it a remake if there was no Clone Wars Season 7 and Lego made a Mandalorian Starfighter. Like they were definitely catering to the TV show at the time itself, Season 7. Also on top of that, you have, on top of that, Lego also has decided to like make Clone Wars sets of like, you know, revamp of what they've already sold. And they probably looked at the numbers, like how well did this set sell? Mandalorian Starfighter probably sold really well. And like, okay, let's remake another one, except let's, you know, update the minifigs and update the color scheme and all that stuff. And they also already have like a blueprint of how to make one, so like it's not like they're reinventing the wheel, so not that hard for them. And yeah, so this is my list. I mean, it's not every single set that I think will never get a remake, but it's the bigger, it's the more important sets in my opinion that I think should be mentioned. I don't think that the sets that I mentioned right here, I don't think they'll ever get a remake, honestly. I mean, it could be like 50 years from now. I still don't think Lego will do that. I mean, you know, Disney's just gonna keep on pumping out more content, more Star Wars content, keep bleeding it dry. And if that's the case, then, you know, Lego is just gonna keep on following Disney and where they go. Especially if Disney starts exploring like the High Republic or the Old Republic era. Like I think we're gonna see a lot of Star Wars sets gearing towards that era as well. And there's definitely no Clone Wars sets then, because that was all during the Clone Wars era. And we'll always still see original trilogy sets. Don't worry, everyone. Don't worry. You can get your Luke Landspeeder. That will always be here. We'll never leave. It's just always Luke Landspeeders. Alright, everyone. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like this content. I also posted some mocks. I posted a mock yesterday, a couple days ago, and then a couple weeks ago, so go check out that. I have a playlist on my YouTube channel. If you don't know this, it's just my Lego Star Wars mock building vids, where it's just all my mocks in just one playlist, along with also me building them, so like the weeks up to the point of like my mock finales. You can also see that and some other cool content in there as well. Go check that playlist out if you haven't already. And yeah, click the bell icon, join the Discord, all that stuff. Comment if you like these Lego Tech videos and all this stuff and want to see more like that. This is Sora Studio. See you on the next video. Peace out.